She won most talkative in high school, and she has been running her mouth ever since. Welcome to the Lisa Fisher Said podcast with your host, Lisa Fisher.
Because this is how it's done. I'm introducing Dani Williamson to all the craziness of Little Rock, Arkansas, but I can tell my listeners she's our people. I call that, Dani, a PLU, a people like us. You're a people like us.
Amen.
You're a Southerner.
Yes.
You have red hair, so people know that I love you because they know of my love of redheads. You are a nurse practitioner.
Yes.
And you do nerdy deep dives into health things, which I love.
I do now, but I spent the first 44 years of my life in fashion. I see you in the closet. You know, I was in fashion. And
is that right?
So now, I made a turn at 40. Well, 40. I went back to school at 40, but I had my master's degree in fashion design. I was a fit model in New York City for 3 years. When I got out of college, I modeled for Bob Mackie and Oleg Cassini and all that. So I was in the closet situation there. So
that is awesome.
I made a big turn, and now I went from selling breast pumps and nipple cream in my maternity and children's store to, being a family nurse practitioner who now does functional medicine, practices functional medicine.
I love it. I've done several of the things you're mentioning, but not all of them. So we have a lot to talk about. One thing is something that's hot off the press. I just left my functional medicine nurse practitioner who tends to my thyroid because it broke and died a long time ago. And though I've reversed all of my autoimmune conditions, I've reversed the autoimmune side of, I don't have Hashimoto's per se, but the gland's dead, right? So I have to see a nurse practitioner, and I'm doing the monthly IVs, and I did the one today with NAD, N-A-D. What did I just put in my arm? What did I do, and what should I expect?
Well, you put an incredible, and I'm not super up to date on NAD, but IV. But NAD is, holy cow, it's one of the best anti-aging.
That's what they're saying.
Regenerative medicine molecules that we can put in our body, and it speeds up mitochondria, helps build mitochondria, which are the powerhouse of the cell to help give you energy. Girl, it's one of the best. It's one of the best, and it's part of my post-COVID, long COVID protocol. Is either IV NAD or liposomal one that we have in the office. I don't do IVs. Girl, you're going to feel good. You'll notice a difference. I don't know how long it takes because I'm not that up to speed on it. But she must be a good nurse practitioner. Hang on to her.
She is. And I partner with her. I'm a health coach, so I partner with her with a lot of my clients because when you speak the language I speak of wondering why you're overweight, wondering why your menopause is sunk to the ground, I have to have a provider to partner with who can run the lab work. So these women, and this is what happens, you know this, Dani, these women, because insurance will pay typically from her office that she orders it, but they get their results and they're crying. They're going, why hasn't someone told me that my fasting insulin's 20 or that my TSH, even though they say it's normal, my nurse practitioner, Lindsay, says, no, 2.5 is not normal. So it's just partnering with women because I've walked that path where no one listened to me. They patted me on the leg and told me to take a B vitamin and to lose 10 pounds. And I was like,
that's right.
I was hanging on to dear life and my thyroid antibodies were off the page. So and that's what I think you really helped me understand because your social media is fabulous. We will post all of your wonderful things in the show notes, but it's at Wild and Well. You're in Franklin, Tennessee. What made you realize, aren't you in Franklin?
I am in Franklin, but it's at Dani Williamson Wellness.
I'm sorry.
The book is Wild and Well.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
Social media all across the board, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, is Dani Williamson Wellness.
My bad. A journalist.
But the book is Wild and Well.
The book is Wild and Well, and which is, we need to talk about that too. But did you have a bumpy time in your late 30s, not feeling right?
Girl.
Or did your menopause put you in the bed? Like, what did it for you?
So my story is that I spent 24 years seeing doctors, but I grew up, it starts with the childhood. I grew up in such chaos, just a complete crap show of chaos, right?
same.
Where my grandfather had died by suicide. My mom attempted multiple times. I had a child molester for a stepfather, one who almost beat me to death my senior year in high school. He hit me one time, and the whole time they were married, but it about killed me my senior year. And I had chronic diarrhea from all the stress. I started with my first colonoscopy at age 20 in college. Chronic IBS. 4 colonoscopies before I was 44, and every other test known to man, every pill known to man, 4 gastroenterologists. Itched forever. Diagnosed with lupus and fibromyalgia in my 30s. 10 doctors, and then I was in a bad marriage, right? And I got out of a bad marriage and went to school at 40 as a nurse, flipping careers. 44 years old, 10 doctors later, 20 to 44 seeing doctors before a doctor ever leaned in and said, Dani, what are you eating? Don't you know your diet controls your symptoms? It turned the entire trajectory of my world around 12 years ago when I was 44. I feel better at 56 than I ever did at 36, 46, at all. So it was, yes, I had a rocky road. My 30s were awful. My 40s were bad because I was in school, the first part of it. And then I just felt terrible and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was trying to reverse 4 decades of chronic lifestyle disease. So now I'm living proof to women that are 50 in their 50s and menopausal and postmenopausal that you can turn around anything that you've turned on. I'm living proof of that. If you were born healthy, Lisa, you don't have to live sick, but it takes a lot of guidance, doesn't it? And it took somebody taking me by the hand. I mean, it was my former boss. And he said, Dani, your diet's killing you. So when we lower the inflammation in our body is when we start to see all of these changes. And what I find is that menopausal women going through menopause, the ones who are the most inflamed, the ones who aren't eating well or sleeping well, but prior to menopause starting, right? Who aren't pooping well, who are not moving their body, who have a lot of stress, who have a lot of inflammation and they're puffy. They have a more difficult journey through menopause than the women who are starting, already not as inflamed. I had a rough time through menopause, even though I was pretty dang good when I went through menopause healthy wise, but it's a journey, isn't it? It's a journey.
It is, but it's finding the right provider to lock arms with you who doesn't patronize you. And that's why my nurse practitioner, and because of my bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, it's a journey like anything else. I can only tolerate the estradiol pellet because I can't tolerate a testosterone pellet. So here's my testosterone, transdermal. Yeah. And then I've got my progesterone downstairs in the cabinet that I take at night. So I do have 3 different ways to...
Me too.
Yeah, to get my body. And I'm seeing that a lot with my clients. So I don't want people to jump off the wagon here and think, well, pellets aren't for me. Pellets are harder to titrate. Right. But
they are. I love my pellets. I have testosterone pellets in me, not estrogen. So I'm the opposite of you. I have an estrogen transdermal that I use, and then my progesterone by mouth, and then my testosterone pellet. And I love that works for me. And that's where you get into, that's where you need personalized lifestyle medicine, right? My medicine for Dani Williamson, my journey and my protocol is completely different than Lisa Fisher's, right? And then the next, but then KK over there and Jody over there. That's where you need a provider who can personalize it to each of you. And I am telling you, tribe, those of you that are listening, if you have a healthcare provider who doesn't listen to you, who doesn't lock arms with you, as Lisa said, then you have the right to find a new provider. Find a new provider. Get a records release, have your records released and transferred to somebody else who's going to listen to you, because we work for you. I work for Lisa if she was my patient. I work for you. It's as simple as that. And if it's not working out, you have the right to find another nurse practitioner.
Absolutely. I think one thing, and I don't know if it's the female anatomy that says, well, I have to please people and I can't fire somebody. But I've had several that'll come back and say, I'm not going to take this, but I don't want to tell my doctor. He might get mad. And I go, your doctor doesn't know if you're taking it was some medicine. And of course, I don't give medical advice at all, but we were hashing it out. And I said, well, some people remove that. I don't even remember what it was. But I said, you don't have to take it. And she said, well, what if he finds out? And I go, does he come to your cabinet every day and look at your pills? I said, fire him because you're the customer and the customer's always right. I mean, my husband's in sales, so this is what he tells, the customer's always right. Well, let's talk a little bit about more in your health, just because I have a similar personal journey with some crazy up in there. The one thing I did different, and God just protected me, was I chose the right mate, because that definitely adds, it's cumulative with the stress and
you bet.
Health issues. But because I did grow up in, dysfunction, my mother overdosed, I moved in with cousins, I didn't know. I was sexually abused. I mean, all the things, right? And a lot of alcoholism, a lot of addiction. I mean, just all this addiction. My ACE score is so high. My adverse childhood experiences. So you see, I have vitiligo. I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I have achalasia. I have all these issues, right? But how many then? But you're not saying you have a whole host of health issues.
Well, I did. Yeah, lupus and fibro. And
that's right. Lupus and fibro. But I don't want to get anyone mad, but I have seen people reverse their lupus and fibro with the right choices.
That's right.
Not many. Some people do the Walls protocol. Some people do other things. But all this, I want to ask you, did your thyroid not break?
No. My thyroid works incredible. No Hashimoto's, none of that.
You're the only person I know with a functioning thyroid.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
And so people always laugh and say, well, it's good because you can take care of all of us, and Hashimoto's is the bulk of my practice. That's what I do. That's my focus, really. But it turns into all these other autoimmune diseases as well. And so, I talk all about adverse childhood experiences in this book. It's the entire first part of the book, because I didn't know about this growing up. No doctor, never once. I'm 56 years old. No healthcare provider has ever asked me about my childhood. Was there trauma? Dani, the colonoscopy or the gastroenterologist should have been asking, because it's not normal for a 20-year-old to be, pooping her pants basically at nonstop. No one asked. And when I learned about this, every single patient in my office now gets the adverse childhood experience questionnaire.
Good.
Every single patient. It's changed the way I practice medicine, actually. And now I get to see, oh my goodness, because I know my score is a 6. I had an 8 this week, a brand new patient. Her score is an 8. She has 2 or 3 autoimmune diseases.
I'm a 7, yeah.
Okay, so I'm a 6, you're a 7, she was an 8. I've had a few 10s, and the research is clear on our future if we don't do something about it, right? I mean, if a score above 4, we have a shortened lifespan, 20-year shortened lifespan, they say. And so adverse childhood experiences are huge. What happens to you before the age of 18 can set you up for a lifetime of chronic disease. And I think it's one of the most significant missed public health crises in the United States. Well, we don't ask.
Because there's no pill for it.
There's no pill for it. And so, but the research is clear, and we're getting more and more on it every decade. We learned about it in the 90s. And so those of you that don't know about ACEs, I'm sure you do. If you're at Lisa's tribe, you can look it up. You can just type in.
I'll put the link in the show notes where you can take the test.
Take the test for free. And then, you got to think about this. And, I've done a lot of work around this. A lot of EMDR and experiential therapy. And I have really worked hard to forgive the mother that did not protect me, whom I now have to take care of, right? As we were talking earlier.
Oh, yeah. That's something. Well, I hate to outdo you on this, but my stomach hurt all my life. I had a bottle of Pepto-Bismol with me. I had diarrhea all my life. My stomach hurt. So I'm older than you. I'm 60. So 4 years ahead of you. if that had happened to you. Well, I was about 22. I was I'm a radio TV personality. I was a young radio TV anchor. And there I was on that gurney that flipped doing a barium enema.
Yeah.
That's what they used to do when you came in and said, my stomach hurts all the time, I have diarrhea. And you know what they said when when we were finished? Can't find anything wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a junior in college when I had my barium enema. I'll never
you've had
forget
one too.
that.
Yeah.
Got up and walked. Oh, that was just awful. I mean, that whole thing was awful.
Do they still do those?
I don't know if they still do them or not. I haven't heard anyone have one in a long time, but that was humiliating.
Humiliating.
Yeah.
Well, here, for people listening, so here I was I was just brand new, like in radio and TV. So when I walked in, that's when you really had no privacy when you went into a medical facility. It was the 80s. And my maiden name is Gibson. So they said, Lisa Gibson. And the little old lady said, well, honey, I listen to you on the radio every day. Can't wait to listen to you today after this. And I was like, I think I tooted through the entire show because they fill use the back undercarriage. They use your undercarriage and your butt to put barium into your stomach, the contents of your stomach, and they flip you up and down like you're at the fair, and you walk out of there and go, I'm sorry that I'm not having this conversation, but people don't know about them because I don't think they do them anymore. And I remember just being.
I got out of the. I tooted all the way from the table to the bathroom with everybody standing in there, you know. Oh, yeah, it was awful. Just came out everywhere. Oh, it was awful. So all that being said, had that doctor said, Dani, what in the world? No. You're living your best life at college. Why are you so sick? What has happened to you? Nobody asked.
No,
nobody.
No one's ever.
And we're not asking. We're not asking these kids, these kids who have, they end up with, all kinds of issues. These young kids, pediatric patients, we never ask them what's happening at home. We don't talk to the mother. Are you being abused, right? Is your husband beating you? We don't, we are, it's a broken system. It's a broken system.
You're exactly right. And it is just, and I do know, I hate it for our providers who third-party pay corners them and says, you get 10 minutes. Good luck. And so you sit down and you say, well, my symptoms are this, this, and this. And they're researching their Google brain going, ooh, I know a pill for that. Rather than saying, let's back up. Tell me, what'd you have for breakfast today? And tell me, those things.
That's right. So that's what we do in functional medicine.
That's right.
We try to get to the root cause because you weren't born with lupus. You weren't born with Hashimoto's. You weren't born with migraine headaches or anxiety, depression, joint pain, irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, celiac. You're not born with that. We turn that on through decades of dysfunction, or maybe not even decades, maybe early on, like it was for me. We turn it on. But your body is designed to turn off whatever it turns on. But you have to know how to do that. And you have to know the steps to that. And unfortunately, in traditional allopathic medicine, we're not taught that. I wasn't taught that. I have a great education, 300 and something nurse practitioners. We were never taught. There's a root cause for your patient's heartburn. It's not a Nexium deficiency. There's a root cause for her heartburn. Figure it out. Never.
So did you do food elimination, or what was your
first thing I did?
Yeah.
First thing I did, elimination diet. In fact, it was 12 years ago tomorrow, November 16th, 2010, I got my first food sensitivity test back. 29 foods were on it. 29 foods. Eggs, number one. My body hates eggs. Cashews, gluten, sugar, and dairy. Those are the 5 foods my body hates. They have stayed on my food sensitivity for years. First thing I did was the hardest thing I ever did. I got it back the week before Thanksgiving. I didn't do it. I said, this is BS.
Right.
And I threw it on the ground, and Dr. Kalb said, if you're going to work here, you're going to walk the walk. If you're asking your patients to do this, then you're going to walk the walk. And I said, well, I'll do it in January because Christmas, my birthday is January. And I did. I started looking at it in 2011, and I have never gone back. Never. There's not enough gluten in the world to make me go back to how I felt. I'm not going to fart my way across a room after a barium enema ever again. So I haven't thought about that, Lisa, in 3 decades. But I am not going back to feeling how I felt in my 20s. Never. And my 30s, I'm not doing it. And it was not easy. It's very difficult to give up the foods that are in everything, packaged, processed, bagged, fake, man-made food.
Right.
Quit eating that stuff. We are wired to want that food because it tastes good, and it's all a chemistry experiment. And I shared on Instagram last night about your favorite chicken sandwich. It has 51 ingredients in it. It's all about addiction.
No, I totally agree. A book that changed my life. I celebrate my 6th birthday with intermittent fasting next week, and so that's what got me into health coaching. Was how it reversed a lot. It helped reverse a lot of my conditions as well as some food removal. Well, just because I have a rare swallowing disorder, that's a motility disorder, and my GI doc said after he had seen me. And this is one of those that no one's ever heard of. This achalasia is what it's called. And I had to see an advanced clinician in Missouri for it. And he told me one time, he said, well, and now it's completely reversed. But he said, I think you've reversed it because of your intermittent fasting. And I said, how would that affect it? And he said, sweetie, like this, we were never designed to digest all day. And we are told to eat from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. And because I'm giving my esophagus a break, he said, you have reversed your achalasia. So that, and now I take less thyroid medicine. So the only medicine and that's not even medicine, it's a hormone replacement. So I don't really take a drug. But that's all this to say, the book that really changed my life was Why We Get Sick by Dr. Ben Bikman. He's the metabolic scientist from Brigham Young. And he's the first person that ever used the terms, if you get your food out of boxes and bags with barcodes, they're not foods.
No, I didn't know that. What's the name of that book?
Why We Get Sick. Follow him on social media. It's at Benjamin Bikman, Bikman. He is a dear and a brilliant, brilliant mind. He was just on with Max Lugavere's show. He's been on Hyman's podcast. I mean, he's the foremost scientific authority on metabolism in the world. He's a PhD. He's not an MD. He's a PhD. So all he does is work on humans and lab rats, right?
Yeah. I don't know why I wouldn't know him, but I don't. But I've got him pulled up here. I just put that book in my cart. There we go.
And so I listened to it, but that's the first time I'd ever heard those terms. And then Jen Stevens, and the mother of intermittent fasting, talks about, she uses the term, and I know it's been used before, but I like to give credit to people, is frankenfoods. And it's the hyper palatable foods that aren't really foods. I mean, by then it's a science project, and it's not a food.
Jen and I have known each other for a few years. I was just in Scottsdale with her at the JJ Virgin's Mind Share. Right. Yeah. So Jen is great. She's great. She's got a good book.
She got several good books. She was, I hosted her in my home in March, and people all over the state came to meet her, and we did different things for her to get to mix and mingle, and she was just lovely. And she's a PLU for sure. People like us. She's a Southerner who cares about your health, and her health story is amazing. I mean, she calls intermittent fasting the health plan with a side effect of weight loss, but she's 52 or 53 now and no health conditions except for navigating menopause, which, as we were mentioning, is a thing.
That's right.
When do you start thinking, because I have clients and friends in their 40s, I know some young people, when should they start looking into, doing a Dutch test or a saliva test to see what's going on with their hormones? At what age?
I don't know. I'm a believer in your mid 30s for a baseline. Because your hormones start to drop in your 30s. Now, I never had any testing in my 30s. I didn't get any testing until I was 44, 45 years old. But when I can have a baseline in their 30s and I can see what that progesterone is doing for sure, because that's your calming hormone, right? That's the first hormone that starts to drop in your 30s. And women don't realize that. So, they get a little bit more PMS, a little bit more irritable, a little bit more breast tenderness. And oftentimes that's progesterone. That's also the hormone that keeps the baby in the womb. And women with multiple miscarriages oftentimes have very low progesterone. So if we're dealing with that, we definitely have to check that. But I would like in the 30s to get a baseline, and then in the 40s, and we check. I check hormones every 6 months on people because they change all the time.
Even postmenopausal, should I be checking mine periodically still to see if my pellet's
Hormones,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Well, if we're on bioidentical hormones, yes.
Yeah.
If you're not using any bioidentical hormones, if the patient doesn't want any, and I can't imagine not, but they don't. I've got several who won't. They won't do it.
Tell me why.
Then we don't have to check it. But with hormones, yes, I do. Every 6 months.
What's their reasoning? What's their reasoning? Why don't they want to feel better?
They're scared. And even though I educate them about breast cancer, right? And about uterine cancer and ovarian cancer, and I tell them, we have plenty of evidence bioidentical hormones do not cause cancer. They don't cause cancer. Horse urine will, Premarin, right? Which is bioidentical to a 2,000-pound mare that it's named after, Premarin, pregnant mare urine. And that's bioidentical to her. But it's not to Lisa Fisher, who is, 100 and something pounds. So that's not bioidentical. That's conjugated equine horse piss. And so the research is clear on that. But hormones don't cause cancer. And here's what I tell them. And then some of them will transition and say, okay, if hormones cause cancer, then my 25-year-old daughter, who's a couple hundred yards away over here, my 25-year-old daughter, her friends, all of her friends in the 20s, all the pregnant women would all have breast cancer because their hormones are through the roof in the 20s, in their teens. And when you're pregnant, they're not all diagnosed with breast cancer. And they've got way more hormones in them than we'll ever have as postmenopausal women on hormone replacement. And then they go, oh.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't thought about that. Well, my doctor said that women don't need hormones. We don't need hormones. There's a reason we go through menopause. And I'm like, yeah, okay, now I get that. There is a reason. I have a few things to ask God about when I get up there because I don't understand that one. But your estrogen is going to protect your brain. Oh my gosh, the Alzheimer's research on low estrogen and Alzheimer's is clear. It's out there. We have decades of it. Your skin, there's a reason those 20-something-year-olds look so good because they've got all that estrogen in their body and their skin is up to here, right? And their boobs are up to here, right? And they just look good and their brain is sharp and their muscles are looking good. And I said, we don't have to be overcorrected, but to be in balance hormonally, I will die with my bioidentical hormones in this hand. I will have my low-dose naltrexone. I take naltrexone in this hand, and I'll have my pro-resolving mediators for inflammation in the middle. I will die with 3 things. But those hormones were the first thing I started on. And I plan on taking them forever. They're scared. They're scared of breast cancer. They're scared of breast cancer. It scares them to death. 1 in 8 women are going to have breast cancer. Well, that's true. They are. That's what the research shows. But the research is clear. Bioidentical hormones do not cause cancer. In fact, they're protective.
I need people to stop their recorder, their device, and back it up 15 seconds and hear you say that again. Because it's the one thing that I think anybody in the health space has to contend with. There's another thing we have to contend with, and we'll talk about that in a minute. My ADD will act up, so let me write it down. And when it was just explained to me with a physician in Southwest Arkansas, Dr. Keith Mitchell said, Lisa, when do you think your hormones were the strongest or most vibrant? And I said late teens. And the girl with me said pregnancy. And he said, do you know anyone with late teens or pregnancy that has breast cancer? No. Who has breast cancer? Women who are 55, 60, 65.
That's right.
And he said, they have no estrogen. And I went,
That's
oh.
Right.
And so we know it was an erroneous study from the Women's Health Institute, right? WHI?
Women's Health Initiative.
Initiative, I'm sorry. Initiative, of course. That we now know. And we also have to follow the money like we did during COVID. Who is saying this?
Follow the money.
Yeah, you're like, oh, the person who might be getting a kickback, oh, I got it now. So same thing with the WHI study and drug companies and all that. And I'm not here to argue over that, but it is something for women to open their eyes about. Now, I do know one she's now a gynecologist in Arkansas, who I have a lot of respect for, told me once, she said, but the problem is, as an MD, I don't want to get in a spitting contest with the oncologist who fuss at me because I'm telling their former cancer patients, yeah, you really can get estradiol, bioidentical estradiol. She said, I'm not going to die on that hill. And I do want to remind people, this is not medical advice. My attorney wanted me to tell you. We're just chatting here. But with that, what do you say then to the woman who has had a malignancy, a breast cancer malignancy? Because I'm with you. I'm riding this train all the way home.
Well, I have my two oldest patients, 97, maybe 98, 97, 98. My second oldest patient's 88. I know that for a fact. They both had breast cancer in their 40s. Both did. Now, I didn't know them then, clearly. They both were in California. They've been on hormones ever since. I prescribed their hormones for them. I've seen them for 10 years. They came to me, two separate people from California, don't even know each other, on bioidentical hormones post breast cancer, right?
Oh.
And the 88-year-old just got breast cancer again. She had a lumpectomy, but 40-something years later has been great. They both have told me that their quality of life was worth way more than not being on their hormones. They were absolutely miserable, losing their mind post breast cancer without any hormones. So I've had several patients on hormones post cancer. I have a lady right now who had ovarian cancer, and I've got her on low dose estriol. Her doctor was really adamant about no estradiol, but she's on she's on a real low dose estradiol patch as well. I just counsel with them and I say, look, here's the benefits, here's the risks and the benefits. I can't guarantee anything. I don't know. I don't know. I do know the benefits though of this. And I have a good friend of mine who's a functional oncologist here in town, and
There's such a thing?
There is. He's older too. He's trying to retire, and we won't let him retire because he's brilliant, and he really guides me a lot with these women. I have a 45-year-old just diagnosed 3 weeks ago, breast cancer, never been married, no children, had a Mirena IUD, has now gotten it taken out, but she has a pretty big breast cancer. 45, and he's on the team now. I called him immediately, and I don't know what we're going to do, but it's a triple positive, hormone receptor positive cancer. So the thing is, I think you have to weigh the risks and benefits of this.
Yeah.
When women are ripped off their hormones instantly, or had their ovaries ripped out, or their uterus, they immediately go into some sort of depression or anxiety, hot flashes, rapid aging, memory loss, loss.
Yes.
So again, it's the terrain. Doctor, for crying out loud, Dani, Nasha Winters. I've had her on my podcast, on my Sunday night service. Nasha Winters wrote the book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. She was 19 years old, Lisa, given 3 months to live with stage 4 ovarian cancer at 19. She just turned 52. 52 years old. She changed everything. She became a doctor. She went through through medical school. She wrote the best book I've ever read on cancer. And she says it's all about the terrain, the gut, right? Healing the gut and killing the cancer. So again, it's about inflammation. Cancer feeds on inflammation. Cancer feeds on sugar. Right? Sugar. So
yes.
I'm not against hormones with again, I can't tell people what to do. I can educate them on it, and then they make their decision. And a lot of times people's quality of life is what they want.
Yes, right. It is a wonderful quality of life. Go ask the man that I'm married to and my children. It is wonderful when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. We know.
No, No,
We know.
and we suffer. Again, the menopause is a mess, and then a lot of women are having children older now, and then they've got these teenagers, and they're going through menopause, and I mean, it's a mess.
It's rough, and they're taking care of a parent.
Yes. But here's what I want these women to know that are listening: that menopause. Dr. Christiane Northrup says this, and I've used it. I've used it for 10 years, and now that I've gone through menopause, I believe it. It's a rite of passage denied by many. And, a lot of women die before they ever get to menopause. It is an honor and a privilege to go through this journey.
Wow.
It's denied by many. When you get to the other side, it's fantastic.
Yes.
I think it's great. I wouldn't go
too.
back to any of that before. I think postmenopausal is great, but my hormones are balanced. I'm in balance. I feel good.
Right.
But it is an honor and a privilege and a rite of passage denied by many. Enjoy it. Ride the wave. Know it's temporary, but it's a journey. It's a journey, right?
Totally.
But it's okay. Millions of women have done it, but millions of women died this year as well who'll never be able to see menopause.
That's right. That's exactly right. Okay, let's talk about the low-dose naltrexone, LDN. I was given it for my high Hashimoto's antibodies years ago. Now I've reversed it, so I have switched to fasting and a carnivore diet. So there must have been something. Again, I was eating that was inflaming me. But tell me what your approach is, why you like the LDN, and all the things about it.
Well, you're not on it anymore?
Not anymore, because I couldn't tell a difference, and it didn't affect my antibody count, so I ditched it. But if I need to go back, I will.
Well, I tell you what, it's anti-inflammatory, right? So what it does is, and we also use it for cancer patients. It's really great for that. But what it does, naltrexone. Now, Narcan is what we shoot up people's nose or jam them in, or in Pulp Fiction, jammed it in the heart, wake you back up after you've overdosed on OxyContin, heroin, whatever. This is Narcan, but it's low dose, 1.5 milligrams, 3 milligrams, 4 milligrams, 4.5 milligrams versus 300 milligrams. Right. So teeny tiny little doses of low dose naltrexone that naltrexone blocks pain receptors in the nighttime between 2 and 4 a.m. in the morning. When it blocks them, it tricks your body into making 3 times or 300% more endorphins the next day. And as endorphins go up in your body, inflammation goes down. Not only inflammation, but your weight as well. So Wellbutrin, the antidepressant Wellbutrin, they put it in their antidepressant, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years ago, renamed it Contrave for weight loss because it does curb your appetite. So you take it at bedtime, it blocks those pain receptors, tricks your body into making more endorphins the next day, and it lowers inflammation. It also it's kind of a mood stabilizer. I mean, it improves your mood, helps with weight, but pain, joint pain, it helps with pain. You have to clean your diet up. You need to take fish oils, things like that, but it helps with pain like I've never seen. I went to the international conference on low dose naltrexone 4 years ago in Scotland, in Glasgow, Scotland. I flew across the pond to get over there. Let me tell you, we're the only country who doesn't use low-dose naltrexone the way it should be used.
Oh, really?
But, well, it's incredible. It's an anti-inflammatory. So my patients who are on LDN, and I probably write more low-dose naltrexone than anyone in Tennessee. I have no doubt, maybe even in this little tri-state area.
Right.
I mean, hundreds of patients on LDN. My patients on LDN did much better with COVID.
Okay.
Much better when they got COVID. Now, not that they weren't sick.
I'll sign back up. I mean, I'm an easy sell, and I do like to do things that help my body. That's why I did the NAD today. I want to do things to help my body, and that's great.
And I tell patients, you can't take painkillers with it because we use it, right, to reverse an overdose because it blocks painkillers. So you can't take OxyContin or Lortab or Dilaudid. Now you can take ibuprofen if you need it, but hopefully you won't. Or Tylenol, but not painkillers because they won't work. It's short acting, lasts for 8 hours in your body, but then it tricks those endorphins. It's fascinating mechanism of action. And for skin, vitiligo, psoriasis,
Okay.
eczema. Oh, yeah. Girl, let me tell you, any autoimmune condition, right? Hashimoto's for sure. Multiple sclerosis. I have my best friend on it with MS. But any sort of autoimmune skin, it's a big deal. And the major side effect, there are two major side effects. The first one are vivid dreams. Vivid. And I mean, I don't know if you remember it or not, but most people dream crazy stuff, not sex dreams, but not nightmares. I mean, so it's kind of just this crazy things, you know.
Yeah,
just
melatonin kind of does that to me. If I even have 2 milligrams of melatonin, I do start having weird, vivid dreams.
Yeah. And then sometimes people have some sleep disturbance, like they have some insomnia for a few days, but that's really rare. The vivid dreams, though, are pretty darn common. It's crazy. I've dreamed the nuttiest stuff for 10 years, but I'm telling you, I love it. Anti-inflammatory. Just look up low dose naltrexone. You'll see that it's for drug addicts, and you'll be like, what? I'm not a drug addict. And providers don't understand it either. But the rheumatologist in town that I work with, they really accept the fact that I write it. And now a couple of them are writing low dose naltrexone for their patients, and they're doing it. And I'm happy about that, because I'm telling you, it's a game changer for people.
Well, it's almost, I mean, you don't want to say prophylactic, but it is preventing you then from having some things. So
you bet.
With that same train of thought, do you have the same philosophy with metformin?
I don't know enough about, I mean, I know all about metformin, but I don't know. I'm not against it. I have several patients who are on it for anti-aging, regenerative, you know, and I don't know enough. I can't even speak to it. I got my own plate full over here with autoimmune and stuff and gut health. Are you on metformin? Do you take metformin?
No, but there is because I'm in this space, and I do send clients, another nurse practitioner. In fact, she's a curly redhead like you. She told me now that she is prescribing it to most of her patients. And she said to me, we're talking about type 2 diabetes. I said, well, my biological father, grandfather, and great-grandfather are all type 2 diabetic, but they were alcoholics. And so they really kind of pickled their pancreas. You know, they weren't overweight. They were thin. And she said, then she goes, if I were you, I'd start taking metformin. And so, again, I have this prideful thing about, I don't take medicine, but I wouldn't mind taking berberine. Do you think berberine would have the same effect?
Absolutely. Okay, without a doubt. That was on my, I was going to mention that whenever, because that's, you know, we use a lot of berberine in the office for blood sugar regulation, for anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antifungal. I mean, I use a lot of berberine. Okay. You want a good berberine that's got all the things in it. And, I would try berberine first. I don't know. I don't think metformin is not going to hurt you. I mean, the major side effects, diarrhea. I mean, you might have diarrhea.
Right.
I just don't know that the jury's out yet on that one. I don't know. I can't speak to that enough.
This lady I'm talking about is kind of, her thing is longevity. So
she knows more than I do about it. She
said, I'm really studying it, and she'll, Lisa, I really think you would like long-term the results from it. So
I know somebody, he's in his 90s, and he just started it. Probably about a year and a half ago, and he's all about it. He's all about it. He's a dentist, and he's taking it. I don't know. It's not going to hurt you. Could help you. How's that?
Okay. And as all these things are, the other one we have to talk about, because my phone's probably blowing up already about this, semaglutide or Ozempic. What is your philosophy? What are you thinking about the Kardashian weight loss of 3 weeks with semaglutide?
So I see people who do just like them and lose all kinds of weight in 3 weeks, and others who do not. I don't prescribe it. I don't do it, but I'm really good friends with a clinic in town who does. And probably I have half of my employees have gone over there and done it. Worked beautifully for them. I have some patients, though, who come in and say, Dani, it didn't do much for me at all. Again, I don't think it's going to hurt you. And I think if it really gets that weight off of you, that is a great thing. But so you can do all of this metformin stuff. You can do all the peptides. You can do all of this. But if you don't have a maintenance plan afterwards, because we're not going to do this forever, then you're going to gain that weight right back. So I think the mechanism on how it works, I don't do, I would love to study peptides. Peptides are there's a nuance to peptides, and you have to know exactly what you're doing, or you can hurt somebody doing all of this. And so I'm getting ready to start some brain peptides, and I don't even know what they are yet. I mean, I don't even know yet. I'm trusting my nurse practitioner to get it right for me for brain health. But our patients are seeing, have you tried it?
No.
I don't need to lose any weight. I mean,
I'm
so
fine.
I've considered it for my daughter, who does need to lose some weight, and she's working on it. She's working with me. She just moved home 3 days ago. So we're trying to, get her back on track. And I've considered it for her. So I'm not against it.
Well, this is my concern, though, because I've been to the Dr. Jason Fung School of satiety hormones. So if you look at the brain and you look at the hypothalamus, which is at the brainstem, that is the metabolic control for your body. And I'm going over this with you, but you know this. You have ghrelin that tells you you're hungry. You have leptin, YY peptide, and cholecystokinin that tell you not to pick up the fork. You're full.
That's right.
And he says, put your fork down. So I did HCG 10, 12 years ago. It was miraculous while I took it. Yeah. But then I gained the weight back because it didn't fix the brain hormone satiety. So that's what I'm wondering about in these. Some are my clients and some are just friends, but they're all doing it. And somebody in Little Rock did find a way to compound it a lot more affordably for $40 and $50 a week, as opposed to $1,200 a month.
Yes.
So, and some of my people are PCOS. They're insulin resistant, and I want them to lose the weight. But I don't know in 6 months or a year if the brain's going to keep telling them, put the fork down. What do you think?
I don't know. And I think the jury's still out.
Okay.
It's brand new for us. It's all over. It's the latest thing.
It's the latest thing.
And unless they have that groundwork with somebody like you, right, who's helping them figure out the root cause of all of this, right? Where did this start? Because, you weren't born 75 pounds overweight.
Right.
What happened? Unless you have somebody who can help you with the plan when it's over. I think it's fantastic if we use it as a kickstart. But it's not, it's a Band-Aid. If not, you're going to gain it all right back. I got a patient today. She's very high up in Optavia.
Oh. Now,
I think, you don't want to know what I think, and I'll keep my mouth shut. But
I agree with what you think.
I told her 6 months ago. Now she lost 60, 70 pounds 6 months ago. She's gained a lot back today. I saw her today for the first time, and she's very frustrated. And I told her, I said, listen, sis, we discussed this. This is packaged, processed, fake food. Nobody can live on a tiny little bar like this, right? And then a lean and green or whatever they do.
Not long term.
So the thing is, all of this stuff goes in cycles. All of these fads do, right? And like you said, if you don't fix those hunger hormones, if we don't get to the root and we don't do the work, whatever it is it do you need counseling? Do you need life coaching, health coaching? I don't know. But or do you need to decrease the stress in your life, right? Do you need to sleep better? If you're not sleeping, you're never going to keep it off. Do you need to poop better? Do you need to move your body a little bit? I mean, there's lots of reasons that people need to lose weight or they have autoimmune. So I'm not a fad person. I keep my practice very simple. Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, cultivate community well. That's the whole book.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Those 6 steps. And then some people need a little extra help. Some people need peptides or metformin, but it's a short-term thing. This is not there's going to be something new in 6 months.
I agree. I absolutely agree. But I do want these people, the ones I'm thinking of, there's one client in particular. I know she's PCOS. No one's listened to her. I mean, she's got facial hair. She's 80 pounds overweight, irregular periods, and no one's listened to her. So I'm hoping, and she has the money, because we do have to talk about, $250 a month at least. She has the money to pursue this, and then I'm hoping it can reverse her insulin resistance, which may cause the ovaries not to push out DHEA and androgen. So I'm saying if it does then help some things upstream, then it may benefit them.
Once they see those things reversing, and that the hope is, but they got to have somebody locking arms, like you said, beside them, guiding them. Because when they stop it, if they have no maintenance plan, is where the problem is, right? Because you can find people all day long to do your peptides or to take your metformin all day. There's no shortage of people who need to lose weight and who want to feel better. So what I have figured out is, it's all about get them in like cattle, but then there's no maintenance.
Right.
And it's a break in the system. It's way harder to maintain somebody and to teach them what happened, right? And to reverse decades of dysfunction than it is to get 5 months of 50 pounds off. That's easier. It's keeping it off. It's also messed up, Lisa.
It is. It reminds me of the Dexedrine, Optifast, whatever the Fin. Everything. Right. Everything has been a fad. People lose the weight. You see them 2 years later. They're sicker than they've ever been. A lot with those things. Now, I don't know about the peptides, the semaglutide.
Not only are they sicker, they're bigger than they've ever been.
Right.
Because I think it's only, I'd have to relook it up. I've got it in the book somewhere. 3 cycles of dieting. I think just three cycles of restricting, right? Dieting. You lose the weight at half the speed. I think that's right. And then you gain it back at twice the speed. I mean, I'm butchering it.
But there's
bottom
math
line
involved.
is,
I get it. Yeah.
This is not a diet. This is a lifestyle.
Right.
And we need to learn from the Mediterraneans who don't eat a lot of packaged processed food. Well, now you like carnivore. So it doesn't matter whether it's carnivore,
for me. Right.
It works for you.
For me.
But it may not. I think it'd probably work for me. I haven't done it. Ken Berry is a buddy of mine here in Nashville.
Right.
And,
he's the king, right.
Mm-hmm. Lord have mercy. I had him on my Sunday night service. He caused more chaos than anybody I've ever had on there.
And he doesn't have a problem with that.
He could care less. I texted him and I said, I am getting the nastiest messages about you. That you are this, that, and another. You're a fraud. He goes,
no.
When you're pushing the envelope, you're going to get it. Don't worry. Which didn't bother me. I don't care. Because, but, and I could easily be a carnivore without a shadow of a doubt. I love it.
Delicious. I will tell you. And it's the way, because we're trying to fix you. We're trying to find a husband or a mate or a partner or a companion for you. If you tell a man, come over to my house, we're having bacon, butter, and beef. He's like, what time should I be there? I mean, he's going to say, no kale. I don't have to have kale. I don't have to have rhubarb. No. Bacon, butter, and beef. And eggs.
Bacon, butter, and beef. And woo! Okay, there we go. But anyway, the bottom line is this stuff is common sense medicine. It really is. It's common sense. Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well. We are a nation of empty vessels who are just pouring from nothing. Nothing. You know that. Yeah. We have nothing to give, and we don't fill our vessel up, and we don't build our self-care into our life. I tell people every day, build your life so that your self-care is inside it. So you don't have to escape from it over here, to go for self-care.
I agree.
Build your self-care into your life. And they're like, Dani, you don't understand. I'm like, oh, I understand.
You do understand.
I've been a single mom for 22 years. There's a lot I understand. You don't understand, girl. But, we just have to bring it back to basics. And it's 2:30 in the afternoon. I tell people this all the time. There's a line around Chick-fil-A right now in Franklin, Little Rock, Arkansas, Utah, San Diego, doesn't matter, whatever, every town in the country, because that's about addiction. And we have to learn that processed, fake, Franken food, right, it is killing us. And we start there. And we work our way out.
Well, we had one more thing to talk about, but we're running out of time. And I was just going to say, and I know you agree, we've been lied to about women and their hormone replacement. And now Ken Berry's on this and so many others. We've been lied to about cholesterol and the heart health hypothesis. Now, if you had 1 minute to give me the spiel about cholesterol, could you do it right here?
Well, your hormones are made from cholesterol.
Thank you.
Every hormone in the cascade of hormones, which is very
right.
complicated. It's as complicated as that bookshelf back there. It starts with cholesterol, basic fat cholesterol. It breaks down and makes pregnenolone and then progesterone, and then it goes across the cascade, right? And you've got estrogen, testosterone, all the things, and cortisol and all that. I don't have any problem with cholesterol. Today I had a patient, her cholesterol is 280 something. I don't know what it was, 280 something. Her LDL was like, I don't know, 189 or something. HDL and triglycerides were perfect. And she was all stressed about it. And her doctor was wanting her on a statin drug. And I said, I would think twice about that. I probably wouldn't do that. Let's dig deeper. These were her labs from her doctor. I said, let's look at your lipoprotein A. Let's look at all the breakdown. Let's break down and see what we got going on here. I'm not worried about cholesterol. You got to have cholesterol to, to make your hormones. I think a lot of, now there are some people with genetically really rough cholesterol high, and there are some issues there. And so we're not saying for everyone, but I'm not stressed about cholesterol. My patients are carnivores. Their cholesterol does not go through the roof for the most part.
Yeah, mine's always been elevated, but I'm a thyroid patient, and a lot of thyroid patients have high cholesterol. But my C-reactive protein, right? C-reactive protein's good. My fasting insulin's 2.2. I mean,
there you go.
All the things.
I look at CRP, fasting insulin, homocysteine, all those things, and fasting insulin is key in my opinion. You can look at a hemoglobin A1C, that's fine, but
Dr. Bickman, that's what that whole book's about. We've been chasing the wrong rabbit. He said it's not A1C or glucose, it's fasting insulin.
You bet.
That's why
it is.
Okay,
so I don't worry about cholesterol. Women need cholesterol. We need cholesterol, right? So exercise, burn that fat, so out of your arteries, I'm not worried about cholesterol.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And then let's talk about your book. Tell me, we're going to post everything about it, but when did you think, well, I'm not busy enough. I'm not taking care of a mother with Alzheimer's and have my own business. I'm a single mom. You thought, I'm going to write a book.
I'm going to write a book. Hardest thing I ever did right there. 55 years worth of stuff in here. And the book is Common Sense Practical Medicine, as it says. I wrote it as a guidebook for people to live their best wild and well life. And it is, the first part's on trauma and then inflammation, because if you don't get a hold of the inflammation, we'll never, ever get the rest of our chronic lifestyle disease stuff under control. And each chapter then is on my 6 steps to healing, which we've talked about: eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well. And every chapter has a prescription at the end of it on what to do, broken down what to do about eating well, sleeping well, moving well, pooping well. I'm telling you, it was number 1 on Amazon on new releases when it came out November 9th of last year. It's been a fantastic book, and a portion of all the proceeds, if I ever make any money off of this, so far it's only been, a couple $1,000 but like making money on it, goes to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Good. So suicide prevention is near and dear to my heart, and I'm on the board for AFSP. So the book is, everyone we sell, a portion of that goes to AFSP. But it's a good book, and people tell me, Dani, it's a guidebook, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a little girl like me from Gilbertsville, Kentucky, who maybe never went to college, right? Just graduated high school, works at Cracker Barrel as a waitress, and wants to learn how to feel better, to somebody at Harvard and Cambridge, Massachusetts, who's got a PhD or an MD to read it and go, holy crap, this is common sense. This is what we're missing in medicine. So
I love it. Your social media is fabulous, at Dani Williamson Wellness. You can come on and say fart with me anytime. I've never said that word all my years as a broadcaster. It's the F word to me, but it's the only way
I've never met anyone who farted across the room after their barium enema. So
Thank you. It's a bond we will share forever.
I will never forget it, ever. I'm reliving 1985 right now.
Walking across that room going, yeah.
With that gown on it. My gosh.
And that lady telling me, honey, I can't wait to listen to you later on the radio. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it over there alive. But I did, and somehow, here we are.
That's right.
Thank
Well,
you
girl,
so
you're
much.
doing great work out there.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Thank you. Great job. Thanks for listening to the Lisa Fisher Said podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe and download all the episodes and leave a review, won't you? The Lisa Fisher Said podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.